winners? Let the pros show you how to make money. General Manager Al DeMarco, a regular contributor on Fox Sports, MSNBC, and Comcast Sports TV, brings over 25 years of handicapping experience to the table. CEO Steve Budin, the author of Bets, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, is the man responsible for creating the online betting industry. Together, they lead PickNation.com, your number one source for winners.
Last Sunday in the NFL, we had underdogs winning outright on the road like the Jets. We had blowouts, the Patriots over the Colts. We had backdoor covers that cost a lot of gamblers here in Vegas big money, like the Chargers coming back and scoring a meaningless touchdown to them, but a devastating one to bettors. And that was just Week 11. Week 12 of the NFL season is here, and this is the Countdown to Kickoff program, the only nationally televised show to break down all of your top games from a point spread perspective. Al DeMarco along with Steve Budin, and we are proud to be joining you for a sixth consecutive year on FoxSports.com. And Steve, I'll tell you, we talk as gamblers about backdoor covers, and people go, oh, it's just a cute little name. Well, it's not so cute when you're backdoored, and I think the most devastating game on last Sunday's card for the handicappers at PickNation.com, for the gambling public, without a doubt, everybody had bought into the Broncos, bet the Broncos up to 8.5 by game time against San Diego. Peyton Manning, that last drive in the red zone, they had to settle for a field goal, and I'm going, backdoor was just open, and there he had the Chargers coming back and getting that touchdown to get the backdoor cover.
And what makes it worse is that it's usually a team that has had trouble scoring the entire game. Now they get into a situation where there's a meaningless score, and all of a sudden your team goes into that old school prevent defense and just allows them to waltz down the field. What are they worried about? They weren't able to score the whole game. Or they really think they're going to get burned on defense? Play the defense. I don't understand why they do it. It kills gamblers. Certainly makes things exciting, though.
The only thing a prevent defense does is prevents you from covering if you happen to be betting favorites. That is 100% true, guys. Listen, first game we're going to talk about today is not a good one. But there's not many good games on today's card. It's going to be Cincinnati and Oakland. The Bengals, they lose 4 in a row. Now suddenly they win 2 in a row. They went on the road and beat Kansas City last week, but me, you, and 9 other guys can probably beat the Chiefs. Now they're laying 7.5 at home against an Oakland team. Well, Steve, all the Raiders have done is given up 135 points in the past 3 games. To say they're struggling defensively might be a little bit of an understatement.
And I think the biggest problem with Oakland, Al, is identity. For the last 10 to 20 years, we know who this Raiders team was. They were a strong defensive team and an explosive offensive team. Well, not anymore. Al said it. Oakland plays that matador defense now. He mentioned it, 135 points in the last 3 games, and now they got no Darren McFadden. That's going to make things even harder for Carson Palmer, who's going to have trouble when the opposing defense doesn't have to play the run. At the end of the day, Cincinnati, well, they've been running the ball lately. They've brought that balanced attack. That's made them a lot better. I think that trend continues. I like Cincinnati minus the 7.5.
Now, I will point out, in fairness, I don't know to who I'm being fair to, but the Bengals are 3-7-1 against the spread. Their last 11 when laying points at home. But then again, this is an Oakland team. Their last road game 2 Sundays ago, all they did was give up 55 points at Baltimore, a AFC North rival of the Bengals. I'm with you. I think the only way to play this one is to go ahead and take the Bengals, Steve. This Raiders defense, 11 sacks on the season. They're allowing opposing quarterbacks to complete 67% of their passes. And when you don't get pressure, secondaries get scorched. I've been talking about this all season long, guys. The back 4, they're left vulnerable, and that's the case with the Silver and Black. They've given up 20 touchdown passes versus just 6 interceptions so far this season. So I'm with you. I think you have to go ahead and play Cincinnati. Something that you all out there have to, can you tell I lived in Atlanta for 9 years? You all have to play is going to be the fantasy football contest, the free contest that we have at PickNation.com.
Well, this is great, and it's not like the old fantasy football where you spend the entire year drafting and redrafting and hope that by the end of the year you win and get the measly $100 that you get for winning. No, this is the new kind of fantasy football, which is week to week out, instant gratification. That's the name of the game.
And listen, you go over to PickNation.com, not only is it free to enter, But guys, it's a $500 prize package. $500 up for grabs. Top 20 finish in the money. $125 to the first place finisher, and as Steve just alluded to, this one is over right after the Carolina-Philadelphia game is over on Monday night, so you don't have to wait till the January, the Super Bowl in February to finally pick up your cash. And if you entered last week, Steve, you can enter again every single week for free. All they've got to do is go to picknation.com, click on the ad, take you minutes just to set up your team, guys. So check it out, free, in conjunction with draftstreet.com. Next game, Steve, is the Bills-Indianapolis contest. Listen, I had a big play on the Bills last Thursday night. It was a horrendous game against Miami. Everybody said, oh, the Bills' defense, they finally came to play. Well, it wasn't so much the Bills played well defensively. Miami has just been pathetic offensively the past 3 weeks. I think that this game is severely underpriced because people look at that Indianapolis blowout at New England last week. Well, geez, the Patriots blew out the Broncos at home this year. They blow out a lot of guys at home. So now they're back at home where they played exceptionally well this season and with confidence.
Well, Buffalo has been re-emphasizing the run. I think that's been working for them. But let's face it, the Bills, Ryan Fitzpatrick, they stink. Ryan Fitzpatrick continues to try to force the issue. That gets his team in trouble. Al's right. Indy had a bad game last week, but it was at New England, and you can kind of understand going in to play such a prolific offense why Andy Luck would have all kinds of problems, but he's coming back home now. He's 4-1 straight up and against the spread at home. I like Andy Luck. I do think it's a value play. Lay the points with Indianapolis.
And listen, Luck at home this season, 8 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. Remember, the Colts had won 4 straight games before going to Foxborough and getting blown out last week. And I look at what happened with the Bills game against Miami and what the Colts did at home against Miami a few weeks ago when they came back and won that game. Bills last week playing at home, 281 total yards in the game. When the Dolphins played Indianapolis, the Colts 516 yards of total offense. I think the Colts are going to be able to run the ball. I've mentioned many times over the past month that I think one of the most positive developments about Indianapolis this year has been they've been able to find a ground game. And listen, you ought to be able to find plenty of holes running against this Buffalo defense. It's ranked number 31 in the league in stopping the run, giving up 147 yards and 4.9 yards per carry. Again, I'm with you. I think you have to go with Indianapolis here. The line's 3. If it happens to go to 3.5, hell, even at 3, to be honest with you, I'd go ahead and buy down the half point because I do not want to be stuck looking back in retrospect going, Jesus, if I had bought that half point and they won by a field goal, I'd walk away with a win. I hate being in that position where you're left not buying the half point and you're stuck with a push.
And one of the other biggest problems that gamblers make is they have short-term memory. They only remember last week. They don't look at a game as far as the trajectory for the season goes. They remember last week only, and they bet based on that. It's a big mistake.
Guys, also, if you want my best bet today, Steve's latest from his Red Hot Baltimore crew and all the handicappers' top picks at picknation.com, all you've got to do is go to the site, picknation.com, and check out the one-day free all-access pass, which, Steve, is unique to our business because nobody else would have the guts to ever try something like this.
Oh, well, you said it. Every other company, they don't want to show you what they've got behind the curtain. They want to just take your money and then try to, satisfy you later. On the other hand, we're the polar opposite. We want to bring you in, show you everything that's behind the curtain, show you underneath Disney World for all intents and purposes, so then later, when you get ready to invest, you know exactly what's going on.
And you're talking about $600-700 worth of action today for free, no strings attached. Check it out, the one-day all-access pass at picknation.com. And Steve, the reason we do it is we're that confident that we've assembled the group of handicappers that will win for you on a consistent basis. Nobody wins every day. I'm not trying to blow smoke up you know what, but the bottom line is over the long haul, our guys produce and they will make you money, so check it out yourself. One day, all-access pass, free trial, picknation.com. Denver, we alluded to the Broncos earlier in the program where the Broncos allowed the late touchdown to San Diego last week, cost themselves the cover, but still, this Denver team's on a red-hot roll, Steve. They've won 6 of their last 7 straight up. The only loss in New England against the Patriots. They are scoring over 30 points a game in this stretch, and you got Kansas City. I don't have anything positive to say about the Chiefs.
Denver beat this team with Tim Tebow last year. He only completed 2 passes in that game. Now enter Peyton Manning. Only the best regular season quarterback of all time. Denver's on a 5-game winning streak. They've scored 30 or more in all of those games. On the other side, KC, only 16 points or less in their last 6 games. I think Denver's a Super Bowl contender right now. I think a lot of people don't understand because they watched Denver in the beginning of the season when Peyton Manning hadn't gelled yet, when his timing wasn't down. Now we're seeing that Hall of Fame quarterback come through. It's Denver time in this one.
Yeah, I think the only way you play this game is to go ahead and lay the points. The only word of caution I have for you guys out there is notice how the Denver offense struggled a bit once Willis McGahee went out with the knee injury, and he's going to miss probably the rest of the season now. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Broncos' ground game, which had really come on, and of course, when you run, you make Peyton Manning all the more dangerous in play action, to see what happens here. But then again, we are talking about a Kansas City Chiefs team that can't stop anyone. I think they've lost 7 straight coming into this game. They're only 4-10 against the spread. Their last 14 games against division rivals. So what the hell? Go ahead and lay the points with the Broncos. Tennessee and Jacksonville.
What a game this one is. Woo!
Yeah, it's
Break out the popcorn.
It's a good thing this is the last game of the first half of this program because I don't want to spend too much time on it. So you got a Jacksonville team that last week actually showed some moxie, mainly because Chad Henne came off the bench and really went gangbusters for them at quarterback. Blaine Gabbert, I don't buy him. I think it was a mistake on a first-round pick a couple of years ago. They just don't move the ball. Maurice Jones-Drew, of course, has been out forever. This Tennessee team, I don't have a lot positive to say there. With Jake Locker being back at quarterback, big deal. The one thing that Tennessee has been getting is very good production from Chris Johnson, who's averaged 130 yards a game in his last 5 games. But geez, if this is the who cares game of the week as far as I'm concerned, and I've said to you many times, you don't put good money on bad teams, and these are 2 bad teams.
Well, Blaine Gabbert is in the league for one reason and one reason only. Tim Tebow has to be better than somebody, so it's Blaine Gabbert. Look, we talked about it earlier. One of the things that gamblers do is they have short-term memory. They only remember the week before. So they're looking at this game and they think, oh, Jacksonville, they're really hot. That's creating a little bit of value for Tennessee. So I like Tennessee here. I think they're a value play. I'm going to lay the 3 points with the Titans.
And here's one of those statistical anomalies that you run into so many times. And again, I've always said about trends and ATS numbers and stuff, you find me one that supports one side, I'll find you 2 that support the other. But the road team has covered every single one of Jacksonville's games this year. It's 10-0 against the spread. Well, that's good enough reason for me to go ahead and say that you're probably right, and we might as well take Tennessee. This Jacksonville team can't stop anybody on the ground. They're ranked 29th in the league in terms of rushing defense. They've given up over 123 yards or more on the ground in 8 of 10 games this season. And as I said, with Chris Johnson resembling the guy that was so dynamic 2 years ago, I think you have to go ahead and take Tennessee, even though it's just a miserable, miserable game. Listen, guys, we do have a much better game to kick off the second half of the program. That little game between Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Who would have thought at the beginning of the season with the Bucs with a new coach that this would be one of the top games on the card today, but it certainly is. And of course, we've got a few others to continue with here as the countdown to kickoff program continues running through all of your top games from a point spread perspective. Let me quickly remind you too, guys, if you miss any part of today's show, all you've got to do is go back to picknation.com and you can watch it in its entirety. So that means if our mothers are watching, they can go ahead and watch us once more, because maybe, I don't know, many other loved ones that are. We'll be back in just a moment. How would you like to get my best bet today and the plays of every single handicapper at picknation.com for free, no strings attached? Guys, I'm not kidding around. Al DeMarco here, general manager of the world's largest online sports gambling community, picknation.com. And today, you can get my best bet and the plays of every single handicapper at the site for free simply by using the one-day free all-access pass at picknation.com. That's right, my best bet, the plays of 10 handicappers for free. If you were to buy them separately, guys, you would spend over $600, but you're going to get them for free, the one-day free all-access pass at picknation.com. Now, you're asking yourself, why am I giving it away for free? Because, guys, I'm that confident that I put together a staff of the best handicappers in the nation that can win for you on a consistent basis. What better way to show you how good they are than by giving you their plays today for free? Once again, the free one-day all-access pass available now. All you've got to do is click on the ad at picknation.com. NFL season quickly winding down. Here we are in week number 12, and leading off the second half of our Countdown to Kickoff program is going to be a little preview of that game between the Falcons and Tampa Bay. Falcons still comfortably ahead in the division, a 3-game lead over the hard-charging Buccaneers, but may I just remind you that the Falcons are 4-1 against the spread on the road this season. What was that one loss? Their last road game, that little upset loss when they lost their perfect season at New Orleans a couple weeks ago. I think this is going to be probably the best game from a fan standpoint today, and one of the games that's obviously going to attract the most action betting-wise.
Well, there's no doubt that Tampa Bay is the most improved team in the NFL. Greg Schiano changing the culture in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay used to be a city that was known for cheesy hookers. Now they're known for a strong, smash-mouth defense that's #1 against the run. But the problem is, they can't stop the pass, and they're facing Matty Ice. That's a big problem. Now, I know he had a bad game last week, but I'm throwing that game out. New Orleans at home is a different team than Tampa Bay at home. The key with past performances is you have to figure out how they affect the line. Obviously, Tampa Bay playing great. I think that's why we see a pick'em game here against an Atlanta team that, to me, is in a different class than Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with Atlanta here. They're the class of the race.
And that was the Tampa Chamber of Commerce just falling off their seats just a moment ago. You know, it's an interesting thing. You said that Ryan had a bad game. I think bad may be an understatement. The 5 interceptions last week at home against Arizona. But, again, it was also a game that we cautioned everybody about last week, that Arizona was an awful team coming off a bye, but Atlanta, you lose your perfect season. You lose to a team that you just cannot beat, that being the Saints, and now you're expected to come home and to cover almost a double-digit spread. It wasn't going to happen, and it didn't. They were lucky to win that game. The problem I have in this game is, you know, you look at this Tampa Bay team, and Josh Freeman's been great. 16 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions over the last 6 games. And this Tampa Bay defense has really come on strong, stopping the run. #1 in the league in stopping the run. Number 32 in the league, guys, out of 32 teams stopping the pass. Well, if you can't stop the pass, I got to think Matt Ryan is going to come in here and go, just going to throw the ball. And with that great trio of receivers, Tony Gonzalez, Roddy White, and Julio Jones, I think the Buccaneers are going to have a hard time stopping them. At the same time, I think we've seen the Falcons have leaks defensively. They are not a good team. Steve, I'm looking at this side here, or the total here, 48.5 points. I mean, I lean a little toward Atlanta, but I really think it's a pick'em game for a reason, because it's a coin flip game. But I look at the total, and I think that might be the better way to go. Take this one over at 48.5.
Well, let me add this. Atlanta didn't get blown out by New Orleans. They were in that game for the most part. Had they won that game, what would be the line in this game? Atlanta 4.5? Because they lost that game, we're seeing it pick'em. That's what I'm talking about, how lines are affected by what happened in the prior performances. That's why I think it's a value here. I'm staying off the total. I'm sticking with Atlanta pick'em.
Hey, and guys, remember Matt Ryan this year on the road has completed 70% of his passes, 14 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. And keep in mind, you know, Carson Palmer lit up this Tampa Bay secondary in the fourth quarter 2 Sundays ago on the road. So, again, they can't stop opposing quarterbacks. Your next game is going to be Seattle and Miami. You know, Seattle's been a moneymaker at home. They've been a money burner on the road.
Absolutely, and what a difference 2 weeks in the NFL makes. I mean, you go back 2 weeks ago, big advantage to Ryan Tannehill, looking like a rookie sensation at the time. All of a sudden, you know, the next 2 weeks go by, and you got to give the advantage to Wilson here. I mean, he's the one playing the better ball. But at the end of the day, for Seattle, it's all about defense. They have the strongest, most physical defense in the league. I think points will be hard to come by. You do have to ask yourself, can Russell Wilson get the job done on the road? Al, 4 touchdowns to 8 interceptions when he's on the road, and that's juxtaposed against 11 touchdowns to 0 interceptions when he's playing at home. Again, I do think this game comes down to defense. I'm going under the total here. 37.5 is that number.
Yeah, I could see the under in this game. And keep in mind, guys, Seattle, even though the Seahawks have covered 18 of their last 24 games, you're now asking this team coming off a bye to lay 3 points at Miami. And granted, the Dolphins have lost 3 straight games. But just remember, the Seattle team's 1-4 straight up on the road. I mean, I look at this and I'm going, are you crazy? You want me to lay 3 with a team that's won 1 game out of 5 tries on the road, and they're the favorite? I don't buy it. I don't think Miami is as bad as it has appeared to be in the last few weeks. I think Ryan Tannehill has just hit that little bit of a freshman slump here
like
at
a
the
rookie
moment.
wall.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that this game could possibly be a turnaround because, again, the Seahawks just haven't played that well. So I lean a little towards Seattle. I can certainly see the under. If you paid me, I wouldn't play the games. How's that for being honest with you? Hey, guys, before we get to two of the better games on today's board, those being Baltimore, San Diego, and Green Bay, and the New York Giants, let me just remind you that you get my best bet today. The best bets of every single handicapper at the site at picknation.com for free using something that's unique to the industry for us. It's the one-day free all-access pass.
Right, so go right to the site right now. You'll see a big yellow ad. It says free all-access pass, everybody's picture right underneath it. You click on that, and then you get it. You get just that. Every single play, all the analysis, everything that a paying customer gets, only you get it absolutely free. And I don't know if there's anyone left after 12 weeks of this show that hasn't taken advantage of this offer yet, but just in case that one or two people out there that haven't done it are listening, do it now, do it this week, get all the plays. Maybe you're on the fence, maybe you've been watching the show, you've been trying it on your own, and you haven't had a good, you haven't gone well against your bookmaker. Now's the time to come in, let us help you. That's what we're here to do. Grab that all-access pass absolutely free.
And remember, guys, you're not just getting our plays, you're getting our analysis, and you are getting $700 worth of action for free, no strings attached. And when I say free, I do mean free over at picknation.com, the one-day free all-access pass. Steve, the Baltimore Ravens find themselves in an interesting position here going to San Diego today. You've got the Ravens coming off a big division rivalry road win against the Steelers, albeit a Steelers team that was brittle and bruised and without their starting quarterback. Now it's post-holiday. You're asking them to fly cross-country. On the road this year, this is a Ravens team that had to score 11 points in the last 5 minutes. I know because I had them that day against the Cleveland Browns to win 25-15 after blowing an early lead of 14-0. Ravens team that only won 9-6 at Kansas City. A Ravens team that got dismantled and blown out at Houston. They do not play well on the road. I think this is a spot. I hate to say it because I hate supporting Nerve Turner, but I have to give the Chargers my money.
Well, it's week 12, so we don't need any fancy analysis at this point. Everyone pretty much well knows us by now. Look, the Chargers, they absolutely stink, but I think Baltimore stinks too. Baltimore's in the midst of a cross-country road trip. That's got to affect them. But the big thing is here, I think there's a lot of parity between these two teams. I think they're pretty much even. Yet, San Diego should be getting 3 points because they're the home team. Actually, they're not. They're a little bit of the underdog. That's a value. I like San Diego here, too. I also would look at the over. I don't think either one of these teams can play any defense at this point. I think they're going to score like crazy. I think it's going over the total.
Oh, I agree with you here because especially with the Chargers being so stout against the run, that's going to mean Ray Rice is not going to be able to find much running room. That means Joe Flacco is going to have to throw the ball more. Guys, you pass it more, less time eaten up on the clock, more scoring opportunities. I think that this line is 47 for a reason in terms of the total. As we said throughout this season, the Ravens defense is not the Ravens defense of old. It's just an old defense. They have no pass rush. 19 sacks in 10 games. That was a good 6-game stretch in the old days for the Baltimore Ravens defense. So even though the Chargers have lost 5 of their last 6 games, I think this is a great spot to go against Baltimore. Ravens 1-5 ATS, their last 6 non-division road games. And I agree with you. I think it goes over, but I think San Diego, the side, is the better of the two plays. And the final game, I think, is the most interesting one on the board. I mean, when Green Bay and the New York Giants meet, you have wildly diverse results in terms of the outcome. If it's a postseason game, go with the Giants. If it's a regular season game, you go with the Packers. That's been the history here over the last few years. But you've got an Eli Manning-led team that is struggling. They're coming off the bye, and really they're struggling because Eli Manning has really struggled here of late. I mean, I think it's 3 straight games without a touchdown with 4 interceptions in that stretch. They're coming in here at 2.5 points. I don't know. This is a good game to watch and a tough game to handicap and pick a side.
Well, the Giants went into Lambeau in the playoffs last year and really beat the crap out of the Packers, surprised everyone. And you're right, the Giants are on the opposite side of the momentum track right now. If you remember last year at this time, they were just starting to pick it up. They were just starting to gel and look like one of the better teams in football. Not the case right now. The other thing is this Green Bay team, they're flying under the radar this year in general, but they're a very, very dangerous team, still a little banged up, but to me, Al, the Green Bay Packers are hungry. And this game, I think, comes down to who's hungrier. The Giants, it's really not a must-win for them because everyone else in their division is playing like crap. Green Bay has to get this game. They want this game. I'm going with the Packers here.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one because, listen, the Packers have covered 18 of their last 23 when cast as a road dog. But more importantly, think about the Giants' defense. There's another unit, much like Baltimore's, and has this reputation, big blue, strong defense. Not the case this year, guys. Have not been able to get consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Secondary repeated breakdowns this season. And think about what they've done at home. They lose their season opener at home to the Dallas Cowboys. They have to rally from 157 points down to come back and beat Tampa Bay. They gave up like 156 in the game. They allowed Cleveland to score at will for the first half against them. Repeatedly, we have seen the Giants unable to stop somebody. They jump up big at Dallas. They immediately give up the lead and give up 24 points before rallying for the win. I think of what Aaron Rodgers did last week against a good Detroit defense on the road. I think of what Aaron Rodgers did at Houston against maybe the best defense in the league where he shredded the Texans. So I'm with you. I got to go with Green Bay getting 2.5 points. And until Eli Manning and that offense shows me that they can get back on track, I mean, you are right. This is their typical mid-season swoon, but nobody says it has to end here in Week 12. But obviously, the line has been set. And I think it's trying to suck you in as a gambler going, this is a trap. Because at 2.5, you're going, oh, the Giants aren't going to lose again. They're coming off a bye. They're playing at home.
Biggest mistake gamblers make is they turn football into roulette. So they wait for 3 blacks so they can bet a red. Eli Manning, 3 bad games, now they're going to all of a sudden bet him. You don't do that. You don't do it with handicappers. You don't do it with teams. You bet on the momentum, not against the momentum. Green Bay, clearly the team with the momentum. I live in New York, Al, 3 days a week. You know, I split my time with Miami. Everybody in New York is in my ear this week telling me, oh my God, Eli Manning, don't count out the heart of a champion. This is a guy that knows that senses it's a big game and is going to bring his best game. Baloney. I'll bet on Eli Manning when he's going good, not when he's going bad.
Well, those same people in your ear, they were thinking the Jets were going to the Super Bowl this season too. So what the hell do they know? So now we've annoyed the people in Tampa and the people in New York City.
Well, Jets could do the halftime show at the Super Bowl, bring the whole circus in. That'd be a lot of fun.
Hey, guys, remember, picknation.com. You can catch the show in its entirety over there. Make sure you check out my daily video reports as well for free on picknation.com. And we will be catching you again next weekend right here on the Countdown to Kickoff program.